Well, g'day, it's John O'Brake here from The Forge Leader. Great to have you here again for the 6th episode of Monday Myth Check, where we look at common held beliefs and stories and conversations, and we hold them up to the light and say, are they real? And we question that. So today's Myth Check is, just because I have a compelling why, that's all I need. And so I want to call this one out because at the end of the day, it's a funny one, right? Because our first trail marker is purpose. And in purpose, we look at things like why you exist, who you're supposed to serve, all those sorts of things. And then we ask the questions, right? If that's the case, how do we then put some guardrails around that? How do we then develop all these different things so that then we can move into our strategy? So I'm a big fan of understanding why you exist and knowing all about that. But so much has been made of this that I find that people often get into this place of, I know my why, so my how will just follow that. Now, it's not meant to be that flippant, all right? Yes, your how is much easier if you know why you exist, if you know why you're doing something, why you're going somewhere, what's your vision, what's your purpose, whatever it might be. So some of these why questions are very, very important, but you need to know where you're going. And so a couple of things that are really important here is that at the end of the day, execution is really important. And this is one of the things we really focus on at The Forge Leader. We say, you know, a Forge Leader knows who they are, they know why they exist, they know their purpose, they know their guardrails, their values, but they also know what they've got to do next. And it's so easy to separate those two, knowing who we are, what our bigger thing is, and then also knowing what are the smaller picture things. So important here. And so execution is very, very important. And being able to sort of step down and say, okay, here's the big thing, here's the next thing, and here's how I take it down to bite-sized chunks. In fact, just last week, I launched a book called Your Best Year Yet, my very first book. I'm very excited about it. And this talks about this whole idea, right? Where we have this idea of what an ideal successful outcome looks like, but how are you going to get there? What are the tangible objectives and key results, the steps, the executables, the actionables, and maybe the accountabilities that you're going to use to get there? So this stuff is very, very important. And so first of all, we need to understand that there is an execution that sits behind why. Yes, it's easier if you know your why, but your why just doesn't automatically get you there. The second one is that you need to have some skill in kind of the area you're going in. Now, if your why exists, typically that why exists obviously in the context of that space, and so that's really good. But you need to have some skills, or you might need to skill up in things. It might be some interpersonal skills in terms of growing your leadership, growing your strategic skills, those sorts of things. That's stuff that we can definitely help and talk about. But having said that, it might be just a physical skill. You might need to learn accounting practices, or you might need to learn something about marketing. I remember when I first came into the whole business game, I was working with a tech guy. He kind of derided marketing, and then it was funny, after our time together, he said to me, he said, one of the most valuable things I learned was the importance of marketing in terms of a startup and scaling a business. And he went on to be very successful in business. So there's things you need to learn. They don't need to be natural. You just need to know them and understand them. At the end of the day, there are realities that also exist just in the world and in life in general. Things happen. Market forces change. I was very passionate about marketing, but there were market forces that changed, and that really hurt that business, or one of the businesses that I had. There were things that just went on that, you know, for other reasons, didn't matter how passionate I was or where my why sat, the fact that I didn't pay attention to certain aspects meant that that business failed. And so it's not always that drastic. There are external realities, there are market forces, there's competitive forces, there's other things going on, there's internal stuff, what's going on in my family, my marriage. All these sorts of things play into this idea of the why, and things that you've got to pay attention to, which takes you back to point one, which is you need to intentionally execute. So just some things to think about there. What I'd love you to do is go into the website and download, in fact, we might put a link on this, where you can go and download the book, Unlocking Your Best Year Yet. And you can go through that process, no obligation. You can get that book for free, just signing up. Yes, he will hand your name over, but as soon as you get an email from me, hey, unsubscribe if you want. But go in and fill that out and start looking through. And if you could just do 1 year really great, and you can say, this is what I want to do this year. Here's how I'm going to go about doing it. You're welcome to come and join the Forge Mentor community if you want to hold yourself accountable, or get some accountability people around you and get after it. This stuff would be really valuable, so it takes our why and it turns it into something tangible, which is the most important thing here. So just knowing your why is not enough. Knowing how to execute is massively important. I'm John O'Brake. This is Monday Myth Check. As always, enjoy the journey.